Welcome back to Hometown TCG, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josh.
And I'm John.
And we are here to help you guys. We have put together a list of the top 5 biggest mistakes we see from new Flesh and Blood players, and we want to help you guys correct those mistakes.
That's right. This is an important list. This is something we really thought about, things that can make a difference for these new players we're encountering.
Absolutely.
So this may be the most important video I've ever watched.
Wow, it very well may be, and because of that, we are either racing to 500 subs or future us has hit 500 subs.
I'm predicting we're at it. I hope I'm not wrong.
We're either going to throw confetti, but either way, sub below, guys. We appreciate our community's been on fire. We love all you guys. Let's get into this list. And the very first mistake that we see in almost every single event that we attend, it's going first without purpose. You win that die roll, your opponent asks, do you want to go first or second? And you pick first, and you got no reason why.
And when someone does that, I just think, wow, I just won.
I gotta win. It definitely feels like you win, right?
Yeah, because you got to understand, in Flesh and Blood, there's advantages to going both first and second. And certain decks are built to go second. All right, so if you go first, you have to have a reason for it. So, for instance, Bravo has a lot of dominate attacks where
Towering
you can push
Titan.
through damage. Towering Titan is another option. You have to have things like that in your deck. Dash is someone who can lay out items, who can place counters on her stuff.
Chain is another great one going first. You can create that Soul Shackle. You can create that Rune Chant off your gloves. You can get off to kind of a fast start, so your next turn you're really applying some pressure. And you have to put that Arsenal card. Guys,
Yes.
if you're going first and you're not pushing through a good amount of damage and you're not arsenaling a card, it is a mistake.
It's not worth it to just use all 4 of your cards. You have to arsenal if you're going first.
Absolutely.
Have to, because your opponent just draws right back up.
So that is the first huge mistake, and we see it every tournament. It lets players that have been in the game longer, it gives them the confidence, and it feels like an automatic win. But that brings us into point number 2, and point number 2 is sitting right in front of some of you guys, and it is your weapon. Use your weapon.
Yeah, I know when you first look at your weapon, you think, wow, it does 3 or 4 damage.
It's not that great. It doesn't feel impactful.
The attacks in my deck do like 6 damage. So why am I going to use that? But it's not about the damage that you're throwing out total on your turn. It's the damage per card.
Right, or DPC, right? And that's a concept we use here at Hometown TCG. If we're upgrading your Blitz decks, if we're giving you guys a deck tech, heck, if we're building our own decks to bring to our armory and skirmishes, we use this concept of damage per card to figure out what our decks can do and how impactful they can be.
So 4 damage from your weapon for 1 card, that would be like 8 damage from 2 cards. That's how you have to think about it.
You have to think about it, and we try to average around 3. We try to get a little past 3 DPC to consider a deck to be good.
So I think when I started thinking about that, it made a huge difference. Additionally, if you're pitching a card for your weapon, it goes to the bottom of your deck, which keeps cards in your deck, which is another very important thing that you get from using the weapon.
Exactly, and that card's going to come back around, so it can have impact later in the game. So it's a very valuable resource. We see so many people lacking on that. Guys, if you got those weapons, use the weapons. So the third point, what's the third point?
Third point is misblocking.
Oh, or not keeping enough pitch when you block.
Or not keeping enough pitch when you block.
Yes.
So you have to look at your hand and decide what's going to happen if I block. If he pressures me enough to where I have to block with 1 card, what can I do with 3? What can I do with 2? What can I do with 1 card in my hand? And if you see that you can't really do anything with 3 cards in your hand, you pretty much either have to keep 4 or 2.
Right, so make that decision and commit to that, right? If you have a bad 3-card hand, you're only going to be able to use 2 of those cards. Don't sit on that block and take damage. Lay that thing down. Keep that life total high. Now, your life total can be a resource for when you have big turns. You can soak these damage and these attacks. But there's no reason to do that for no purpose. If you can't use all the cards in your hand, use them to block.
Right. All right, number 4.
Let's get right into number 4.
Okay, not having a plan before the game starts. So we just talked about having a plan with your hand for blocking, but before the game starts, you have to know how you're going to win.
You absolutely must know what your deck wants to do, how you're going to accomplish it, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself playing what we call hand to hand. And that just means you're going to play each hand to the best of its ability right in front of you, but you might lose out on that overall theme that you've built this deck to accomplish.
Yeah, and that may be like for Prism. Let's say maybe you're just trying to go for one giant dominate attack.
Yes.
Don't use your Dreamweavers early. Save them for that attack.
Don't use the Phantasmify early. There's no reason. Arsenal that bad boy, hold on to it.
So, yeah, you feel this pressure. You have a pretty good hand, but you're not thinking about what's going to finish the game off. That's what matters, is the last turn of the game. Arsenal that card and use it for next turn when you can push through the final points.
Exactly. Now, we've actually seen good players. They were really good players, and they used to play hand to hand, and we've seen them make the transition to be players who are playing with a plan, seeing the overall theme of their deck and goal, and they have become great players. Guys, if you can take this step, number 4 is a huge step. And number 5 is going to be, if you've put the rest of this together,
The cherry on top.
it's the cherry on top. It can push you right over the edge. And number 5, the biggest mistake that we see new players making is not having an idea of what their opponent's plan is, what their opponent wants to do to them. This is an interactive game, right? We want to interact with our opponent. We want to try to shut them down. But if we don't know what our opponent wants to do, we can't shut that down.
Yeah, there's some people that you can switch strategies up. You don't have to be as aggro. All right, Katsu comes to mind. He's super aggro, but Dorinthia can kind of put out more damage to him. So in that matchup, he has to become more defensive.
He sits on the back foot, defends a little bit until he's got and built up the perfect set of resources to overwhelm their opponent. But he's only able to do that because he knows what Dorinthia wants to do and what the goal of the deck is.
Exactly. That's what makes the huge difference. There's such a learning curve in this game, but if you really want to make it to the top, learning your opponent's tendencies, strategies, that's going to do it.
Absolutely. If you're able to put all 5 of these things together, going first, not going first without reason, not using your weapon, making sure you block effectively, having a plan before you even shuffle up, and then either knowing or figuring out what your opponent wants to do, your guys' gameplay is going to take leaps. It's going to take you to the next level. You're going to start taking home those armory dubs.
Yeah, and once we start getting the community, everyone on the same level doing this, the gameplay is just going to go to the next level.
Exactly.
And it's going to be people pushing each other, kind of,
A rising tide lifts all ships.
Yes. Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron, right? We could go on with cliches all day, but guys, get these 5 things down. Watch your gameplay improve. And again, let us know in the comments where you struggle the most, and we'll tell you where we struggle the most. And until next time, my name is Josh.
And I'm John.
And we'll see you in the next one.